Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer, dear listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Welcome to another wonderful episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We always try to impact your life in a positive way. I think this will be an extremely impactful topic. We're talking about the subject of real estate. I have a property valuer who happens to be also a radio personality and also an all-around nice guy, Mr. Shima Monageng. Welcome to the studio.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Would you care to share with the viewer your background in terms of your professional training and your general experience?
Okay. Thank you. I'm Shima Monageng, as you have mentioned earlier on. Those who are very close to me, sometimes they call me Uncle Shima. All right. And I'm a real estate professional. I'm a property valuer. I manage a company called Monageng Valuers. And I'm a businessman.
Okay. What does Monageng Valuers do exactly?
Monageng Valuers does business in real estate, but specifically we value properties, be it commercial property, residential property, industrial or agricultural.
Okay.
We also manage properties and also we let and sell properties.
Okay, what about professional training or academics? What have you done?
Okay, I didn't go that far. I did 2 diplomas in real estate and also another one in architecture. That's right.
So you're an architect?
No, because it's a diploma. I'm not an architect.
Draftsperson?
Let's say property valuer.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
because I no longer do designs. I no longer get engaged in architecture anymore.
Okay.
Yes.
And at Monageng Valuers, what is the spectrum of services you offer insofar as valuation is concerned? You value which spectrum of properties?
Any property.
Whether it's a farm, residential.
Whether it's a farm, like I said, we do farm, we do residential, we do commercial, we do industrial.
Okay.
And we do anything that is landed.
Okay.
That's right.
Is it generally better to invest in towns or to invest in villages? What are the comparatives?
I think it all depends. There must be a reason why you are investing in town or you are investing at home in a village. But I think you should consider investing where you will get good returns.
Yes.
And also, because we are talking of investing, we're not talking necessarily about building a house at home. We're talking investing. So definitely, it's better to invest in towns than in villages because you'll get higher returns at the end. Whether you are letting that property or you are investing to sell at a later stage, you will definitely go right in a town.
Okay.
Right.
In Botswana, we have 2 cities, namely Francistown and Gaborone. Are they equally significant when you talk about town?
No, not at all. Market in Gaborone is quite high, and there are a lot of activities, as you might know. You are in real estate, you know that. So in Francistown, the activities are a little bit slow, and also properties in Gaborone obviously are valued much higher than in Francistown. But Francistown is coming up also. Okay. It wouldn't be like maybe Lobatse, for example.
Yes.
Lobatse is really low.
Okay. What are the key considerations you look at when you value a property?
Consideration that you have to look at I think the most important thing is location. Location.
I've heard that repeated so many times.
I don't know why they say it 3 times.
Yes.
Yeah. And the location, neighborhood, of course, and also the property itself, because you need to visit that property, you need to measure it if you don't have plans, architectural plans, and you consider the design, you consider the aesthetic part of it, you consider the fittings, you consider, finishes. So at the end, you have a property in your mind that you are dealing with, and you do a bit of comparables. If maybe it's this building, Mogobe Plaza, you do a bit of comparables. But of course, if it's a commercial like this, you rely much on the rental, on the income that it produces or is supposed to produce, as opposed to a house where mainly it's comparable. You look at a similar property that has been sold recently.
You find one property identical across the street, being valued 3 times the one that is the other side of the street, but there are similarly designed and similarly built. What accounts for this?
I think it depends, Lerumo. If it's valued by the same person, or the 2 properties valued by the same person, it will be very, very surprising. That particular valuer valuing a BHC high-cost house this side of the road, and then valuing the other one this side of the road, and giving 2 different values. If they are really identical, the values must be the same, should be the same. But if they are valued by 2 different valuers at different times, of course, there might be some differences in the values, because valuation is not an exact science. It's not 1 + 1 is equal to 2. It's mainly consideration of many factors, and we are allowed maybe up to 15% difference. So if it's more than 20%, more than 15%, one of the valuers would be wrong. But maybe if one values that property at 1.2 and the other one values it at 1.280 or 1. So long as the difference is less than 15%, that should be allowed.
Okay. What are the governing bodies involved in registering someone to be a valuer, and what do they look at before they register you?
We have Real Estate Institute of Botswana, which is a body that we are members of, and they obviously look at qualifications, they look at experience, and then we have the governing body that regulates the profession, that is the Real Estate Advisory Council. Just like you as lawyers, you have law society and medical practitioners that you have there. Yes. Yeah.
And what do they look out for in order to register valuers? Because there is the issues around fly-by-nights and so on. Yes.
Like I said, it's obviously qualifications and experience. You actually go through an exam for you to qualify, but not only an exam, but also the experience that you have worked under a registered valuer, an experienced valuer. So you go through such for you to qualify.
All right.
And of course, first of all, they put you under probation, so that someone can, mentor you.
Yes.
Someone can look at the work that you are doing, and at the end recommend you or not recommend you for registration.
Okay.
And we have categories also.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you have to pay any fees?
Yes, of course, so that the organization keeps on running. Yes, there are fees paid.
Now, but I'm sure if you and I were to buy the Botswana Advertiser now, we'll find pages and pages of people marketing and advertising who are not members. Whereas the law seems to suggest that you can't do that unless you are a member. How do you handle that situation?
Yes, you are right. There are lots of fly-by-nights. There are lots of people who are
They're actually flying by day.
they fly by day, actually,
In the open.
by hour.
Yeah.
There are many, and they are actually flouting the law because the real estate there's an act that regulates and which also indicates who is supposed to practice as a real estate professional, just like lawyers, just like medical practitioners. So the Real Estate Advisory Council is supposed to look at those issues, take action, report to the police, report to any other relevant authority, and action must be taken against those people. The challenge that we are having is a lot of these fly-by-night, they keep on changing their cell numbers. Like right now, there is someone who is doing me bad. He's trading as Shima estate agent, something like that.
Took your first name.
Took my first name.
Yeah.
I reported to the Real Estate Advisory Council. They've tried to follow him up. First of all, he managed to, he answered, but next time the number was no longer available.
Yeah.
So they keep on changing the telephone numbers.
But have
the
you
cell
seen
numbers,
any serious action being taken against some of these?
Yes, I understand a couple of people have actually been taken to task and handed over to the police and all that, but I haven't followed it up. But
Nobody's serving time.
it appears like.
Yeah.
But I would expect, I'm one of the people in the profession who keep on saying Real Estate Advisory Council must up their game because, there's law. Just like you or a medical practitioner, if I start
operating somebody without a medical certificate,
I think the next
an
day,
operation.
I think the next day action will be taken.
Yeah.
But I don't know why REAC seems to be. I don't know the challenge they are having. Yeah.
But
without
isn't
saying
it
much.
also part of the reason is that the legislation is fairly new? There was a long time when the industry was not regulated.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. But it's not new because how old are we? How old is it? I'm sorry, but I think more than 10 years.
Yes.
So it's not relatively
Yeah,
new,
okay.
really. Yeah.
Yeah.
And action must be taken,
Yes.
whether the organization started a week ago or not.
Yeah.
Action must be taken.
Yeah, true. I want us to go back to the question of investing in villages versus investing in towns. What do you say there are advantages, if any, to investing in villages? Are there any advantages?
Yes. Earlier on, when I said it's much better to invest in towns, I should have added that there are certain villages which almost compete with certain areas of a town. For example, you have Mogodisani here, you have Tlokweng here, and it's you can build a house in Mogodisani depending on the location, or build a house in Tlokweng depending on the location. Maybe,
but arguably those just Gaborone and its environs. It's just extension of
it's
Gaborone.
extension of Gaborone.
When I'm thinking
But
village,
the
I'm thinking of the
address-
pure village. I'm thinking of Kanya. I'm thinking of Moshopa.
Yes.
I'm thinking of Mau. I'm thinking of
Advantages there is you will get the land cheaper. Yeah, right now a land of 1,000 square meters in Gaborone, you get it at average 800 pula per square meter, which is 800,000.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money, and I'm talking of just okay areas, be it Gaborone
Block
West,
10.
Block 10, phase whatever. But when you get to other areas like Pakalani, you probably can go even up to 1,500 for a residential plot,
translates
to 1,500,000 for a 1,000 square meter plot. The same plot in villages like Kanyes, Rowe, Mulepolole, you'd get it probably under 100,000. You see, which is quite
huge advantage.
Huge advantage. And also in villages, sometimes competition is not there much. If you build, take for example, Mafingatala Mall in Molepolole, which I was part of people who made it happen. It is the only main mall, is the only mall or main mall in Molepolole. So it's not competing with a lot of other malls like here in Gaborone. If you put a nice office block, it may not have, you'll go right.
All right. In terms of
course, also rates. In Gaborone, in towns you pay rates, and in villages not yet. Although I understand government is working towards that.
You do have an annual lease fee or something, isn't it?
No, but that is the land. It's sometimes it's less than 10 pula or what.
So it's nominal. It's almost negligible.
Negligible. Yeah.
Okay.
Negligible.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So still, what are the downsides? We just covered some advantages. What are the downsides of investing in villages?
The downside are, I think, the market, like I said. Sometimes, the moment you see or you find your investment being higher than, the cost of building being higher than the value of the property, know that it's not viable.
Explain that. Give an example.
For example, you build this double story. How many floors do you have? 3?
Okay. 5. If you include the roof.
Oh, yeah.
The roof.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's say in here, maybe you build it, I don't want you to tell me, I'm just saying maybe you build at, at 200 million, okay? The value is expected to be far much more than 200 million that you spent in construction and everything, in buying the land and all that.
Yeah.
But if you build the same structure in Molepolole and Kanye, having built it at 200 million, you might find the value is under 200 million. Because like I said, commercial properties, we rely mainly on the income, on the rent. So the rent here could be maybe 1,100. Not 1,000, 110, sorry.
Yeah.
The rate here might be 110.
Pula per square meter.
Pula per square meter. Whereas in the village, you'll probably come down to 70, 60.
Yes.
So that's far much less than the end result. When you capitalize that income, the value would be far much less in villages. So it's always wise to build in accordance with the market. Don't just, whether it's a house, residential, whether it's commercial, build in line with the market, because sometimes there are people who build huge houses in villages, and at a later stage when children, we can't get tenants. Even if you initially built it for owner occupation, the children later on get married, they go that way, you remain with your wife, and the house is huge, it's 4-bedroom, ghost house. You try to rent it, the rental is very low. You consider selling, the price is the value is very, very low. So those are the downturns of investing in villages. Yes.
Supposing one of the listeners is a university graduate and they're a first-time investor in real estate, would you advise them as a first-time property to build in the village or to build in the towns or in the cities?
It really depends, Lerumo. It really depends. If your village is like the embrace of Gaborone, like you said, Mompoloki, Tlokweng, build in at home in your village, because like I said, you'll get the land cheaper. But someone staying in Mogobe, staying in Tlokweng, by Oasis there, you are as good as in Gaborone. And also, being young, you would have probably borrowed money. So you better consider Gaborone if you are borrowing. But if, for example, maybe you are lucky, maybe your parents are rich, and I know children who sometimes when they leave school, they're given a lot of money to start life.
Or when they get married.
When they get married, So it's preferences depending on why you are building, and also location, as I said. But if you come from, I'm sorry to say this, if you come from Khanti, you come from Sorowe, then it's better to build in Gaborone, because it's either you'll stay there or you'll rent it and get higher rental. But I know certain friends who build far in Sorowe, and the house sometimes, because one stays here most of the time, so it's not really getting his money's worth.
I want to develop this discussion further by asking two locations for you to develop your argument further.
Yes.
The first location is a place like Kanye or Mompoloki. What are the advantages of building there, if any? And then the other is these mining towns, Jwaneng or Rapa. What are the advantages? Can you help the viewer, educate us a bit?
Okay. Let me start with the town mines. It's risky sometimes because you don't know how long that mine is going to be in existence. And also, the mine could still be there, but production or anything, or diamonds, if it's diamonds, for example. It happened in Pique, very typical example. Those houses in Pique are now ghost structures. But
although someone was telling me it's been revived now.
Yes, it's better. It's better, otherwise the government will pay. If they don't revive it, it has to be revived. But you see, everything depends on why you are doing it. If you do it for investment, yes, maybe like Orapa, we hope it will continue. Jwaneng, we hope it will continue. Get loan, build it, try to have short repayment period. Don't take 25 years, for example, because you don't know what will happen to the mine in the next 25 years. But if you are taking 15, 10, you are home and dry, because one expects that if anything happens to Rapa mine, to Jwaneng mine, it won't be immediate, really. But again, those areas like Orapa and Jwaneng, you should know that you are building mainly for a certain market segment of the market. Like you are building for the mine personnel, people to occupy. What if at a later stage the mine decides to build their own houses for their employees? The market is not really there except for that particular group or those particular groups.
So one has to do a lot of research.
You have to do a lot of research. You have to do a lot of research because it's a long-term investment. Yes. But in Molepolole, Kanye, as you said, these are big villages. You can invest there, but like I said, don't go too into huge investments there because you may end up not getting the market. And it depends on where exactly you will be putting up such structures.
All right, let's
do your market research.
Let's dissect that a bit, maybe with an example, if you don't mind. The relative returns in terms of the actual numbers. Maybe you can give an example.
The what?
The relative returns, village,
and, town.
Yes, in terms of numbers and returns.
Okay, I would think here in Gaborone, you are getting, year's purchase of what? Of maybe 10%. That gives you a yield of maybe 8 or so. Now, in villages, you will get maybe year's purchase of 16. That diminishes your
Perhaps you should make it easier for the viewer to understand what you mean by year's purchases and these percentages. Let's assume ignorance.
Technical.
That's fine. You're becoming very technical.
Indeed. And I fear to really get into too much technical. But you see, obviously, it's an issue of if you had a certain amount of money, maybe you have 1 million, taking it to a bank, you check how much interest you're going to get. Maybe you are putting it there for 5 years or whatever. As opposed to taking that 1 million or 2 million and investing in property. So the returns, you have to calculate them. You have to, in banks, you don't have to calculate. You ask them, they tell you.
They'll amortize it for you.
Amortize it for you. But in real estate, you have then to see a property valuer, a real estate professional, because bank is fixed. Although you may negotiate
interest,
But with real estate, it will then depend on the property. Like I said, the returns here in the CBD are much higher because you get in rental of about 110 per square meter.
Can go up to 120.
It can go up to 120 if it's a nice building like this. But then the returns in building a big and wonderful structure in Bunking, the returns will go down, obviously. So the YP, the rate gets affected.
Okay, that's very interesting. You mentioned banks in passing. Could you help the viewer understand the bank's policies generally? I mean, obviously there are differences, but generally, as
lending,
lending in cities or towns versus lending in villages.
Oh yes, I wouldn't go much into their policies because I'm not an advocate of banks or something, and I don't want to misrepresent them, except simply to say, in the past, banks used to be very generous, whether you are borrowing to buy in a village or build in a village, they would give you similar conditions as opposed to someone building in towns. For example, they may give you 90%, 95%, or even up to 100%.
Explain that to the viewer. 90% what?
90% of what you are asking for. Or
you're talking about the LTV, loan to value.
Yes, exactly. 90% of what you are asking for, or 90% of the value.
Loan to value,
yes. Loan to value. Because they will give you whichever is the less. If you are getting 30,000 pula per month, probably you should qualify for 1 million pula. But if the value of that property you are buying or building is less than 1 million, they will give you the less between what you qualify for and what the value indicates. Now, a lot has changed even before COVID, but now with COVID here with
even
us, more so, exactly, to the extent that a lot of banks would only lend up to 500,000. And Lerumo, what can
if it's in the village?
If it's in the village.
Regardless of the LTV?
Regardless of the LTV.
The LTV, loan to value.
Yes, loan to value, yes. Say we value your house in Kanye for 800,000 and you qualify as far as your finance, your income is concerned, you qualify 1 million. So you should be able to get that 800 because the value has, or the valuation or the value has favored you, your income favors you, but they will say no, because it's in a village, the risks are too much, will only give you up to 500,000.
But is that true in reality? Are the risks that too much? Or
the risks are there. The risks are there.
So are the banks justified?
You ask me. To some extent, although I believe they should also understand that they have to mitigate those risks to some extent. But the risks are there because I always find it very difficult to sell properties in villages. If you get a property in the matter between, it's going to be very difficult to sell. If you are selling a property,
I mean, if it's already attached by the sheriff.
Yes. The ability to qualify or to pay in villages, people find it very difficult because, for example, a young person or even a middle-aged person will try by all means to build a house in Gaborone, or as opposed to renting. But even if he's renting, he may be paying 6,000-7,000 per month for that rental. Now, building in the village, it becomes very difficult because your income maybe is 20,000 or whatever, and trying to rent it out, build, because it would have been easier if you get a loan, you build in the village, you rent it out, and then when retirement comes or when later on you grow, you become old, you can then move to your village if it's Kanye, if it's Molepolole. But the banks find it very difficult because they rely on what they have been getting when properties have been foreclosed and sold through auction. They hardly ever get their money back. So even us as valuers, we are very cautious. We become very, very cautious when we value in villages.
Yeah.
And you might find a property that is worth $1 million here in village now worth almost half. So it's pathetic and very unfortunate.
Okay. You just about on the valuation, you have three major numbers there.
Yes.
Market value, replacement value,
and
for
sale
sale
value. Yes.
Take the viewer through those. Explain one each, okay, one by one,
Yes,
what they mean.
Yes. The open market value is the price at which that property is expected to sell, given an arm's length transaction. And
willing seller, willing buyer.
And willing buyer, willing seller. And not only willing, but able. Yes, because you might be willing, but not being capable. So
I like that.
So it's a willing buyer, willing seller, capable of buying that. That is the open market value. And viewers have to understand that this is not cost per se. Value is not cost.
Difference?
Yeah. The reason being that you may have a high cost house in Gaborone valued at 2 million in a good location, having been built at maybe 1.6 million. The other is the land issue. Now you take the same design and the same plot size, you build it in Molepolole. I will always say Molepolole because I come from Molepolole. The quality, everything, it won't be valued at 2 million. It can be valued at 1.2. The same design, same finishes, same plot size. But being valued at 1.2, maybe it was built at 1.4. So that's where, like I said, once the cost is higher than the value, know that it's not viable. Take it further, Lerumo, take it to Letlhakeng, beyond Molepolole, about 50 or 60 kilometers from Molepolole. In Gaborone, it's valued at 2 million. In Molepolole, it's valued at 1.3 million. In Letlhakeng, it might be valued at 900 or 800. So here, we're talking value. We're not talking cost. So that's why sometimes we get in trouble. Someone saying, but my house in Kanye, in Sorowe, it's even bigger than my cousin's house, which we valued at 1 million. But you are valuing mine at 700, 600. So you have to explain. Now we get into the for sale value.
Yes.
That was the open market value.
Yes.
For sale value is again the price at which a property is expected to be sold. But this time around, it's being sold under duress within a very short period of time, because it's either the bank has foreclosed, has done foreclosure on it, and is advertised for 3 weeks or so, and then it's in the market.
In other words, the owner has a gun to his head.
The owner has a gun to his head. When you do private treaty, when you sell just in the open market, sometimes you are not very much under pressure. If you want $1 million, you can, if you are not under pressure, you can wait You have advertised it. You can wait for 2 months. A estate agent will be telling you, no, I've shown so and so is interested. 2 months pass, 3 months, then you reconsider the price. But if it's for auction, there's a date put there. And like you said, the gun is on your head. Either you are auctioning it yourself so that you pay the bank, or you unfortunately waited for too long. The bank has taken it, foreclosed, and then they are selling. So within a short period of time, it will be there for people to buy. And as you know, auction means that day. So people just come and buy it. If the,
now,
the,
is
the,
there,
the price
is there
is
a
okay.
percentage in terms of relationship between the market value and the for sale value? For instance,
Yes.
the for sale value, what percentage of
Yeah.
market value is it?
In towns, for sale value is about 85% of the value in towns.
So you lose 15%.
You lose 15%. In villages, you may go down to 70%, 75%, because it's depending on how far the village is from town.
Speaking still of for sale value, I've seen properties being valued many, many times, and then eventually it doesn't seem to matter what those numbers are.
The value.
Yeah, I mean, after maybe the sheriff has advertised 3, 4, 5 times, the 6th time it doesn't seem to matter what the for sale value is. They just see who's available sometimes.
I don't understand your question.
In other words, sometimes the bank ends up selling at way below the for sale value.
Yes. Yeah, it happens because I think generally Botswana, I'm sorry to say this, we are not used to auction, really. I've attended quite a number of auctions, sometimes instructed by the bank or Botswana Building Society. You hardly see Botswana there. It's other nationalities. Because
And the reason for that?
I don't know. I don't know whether we don't read. You'll only know about that auction in most cases by reading the newspapers. It could be we don't read much. Secondly, I think people sometimes think that if you go into an auction and participate, you are supposed to tomorrow pay the 1 million.
Yeah, they also think that you're supposed to pay a nonrefundable deposit. Isn't that element as well?
That element also is there. But you see, if you want a property, that should really, you should not, because in most cases, like you said, properties are being bought far much lower than the value in auctions. So it's your chance to get a property at a much lower value. But even those who attend, I think sometimes they play what you call wait and see. If the reserved price is 900,000, sometimes they don't go to 900,000. They know the bank wants to sell. So if we don't buy, sometimes they collude. Let's not buy it. Let's just go there. Next time it will be advertised at a lower price. Yeah. So in other countries, when you auction a property, you're likely to get it bought. But in Botswana, I don't know, because the market is not that active.
Let me also ask you this issue of nationalities. Other nationalities understand property and they're always there in auctions. And you say we're lagging behind. What's the reason for this lag, and what can be done to overcome it? What can we do to
It's for us as Botswana to appreciate the importance of landed property. You'll see many people, many Botswana, at the auctions where cars are being auctioned, whether it's CTO, whether it's the bank. But I'm telling you, when it's property, sometimes you just find, with due respect, Indians there, Chinese there.
Here's a chance to educate Botswana. Tell them what they're losing out and tell them the relative advantages of property versus cars.
I think they know. If one does not know...
Well, we have to keep pushing.
Yes. I'm just being kind of sarcastic. You know, if you buy a car now, a good car, at $1 million, you know, it will depreciate.
The minute you drive off
the showroom and you realize you have to maybe the following day you get a letter saying your employment has ended. You take it back, you won't get your money. The following day,
You've lost at least
you've lost
20%.
20% or so, yeah. And then in 5 years, it has depreciated to the extent that you cannot even sell it at half the price that you bought at.
I'm saying half, not even 25%.
Not even 25, not even one. Yeah. So, whereas in property always, in most cases, appreciates. Yeah. Take a typical example of a BHC house. 10 years ago, a low-cost house, you could buy it at 400,000, low cost. These days, it's 650, 700. 10 years. A medium cost house, these days, it's $1 million.
It used to be?
It used to be
half a million,
500, 600. So it's when you take now 15 years, 20 years, the medium cost that you are buying at $1 million now, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you could buy it at 250, 300. Yeah. So right now, I hear people whose parents have worked in Gaborone those days in the 60s and the 70s, you know, they are blaming their parents that, you know, a house in extension 10.
Let me just put a scenario.
Okay.
My mother at some point when I was under 10 was staying in a type 4 house.
Type 4 house.
She told me that house was going for 1,000 rands.
Thank you.
But she did not buy it.
She did not buy.
So we had an argument, me and her, when she was, God rest his soul.
Yes,
so
yes.
why did you buy?
Why did you
said,
buy?
No, but your dad said we're going back to the village.
To the village.
That was the first one. The second was around, I think, early 80s.
Yes.
There was a house somewhere around, around Pop Inn.
Yes.
Going for 20,000. Talking early 80s.
Yeah,
I remember.
80s. Yeah, you remember.
And my mom brought it to my dad. My dad rejected it. Who told you we want to live in Gaborone?
To live in Gaborone.
So
yes.
Can you blame me for not feeling a little angry?
No, you.
Because I was powerless as a child.
Yeah, you're right. And take it as a lesson, and let the viewers take it as a lesson. Yeah, you said your mother's soul rest in peace, so she's no more. You know,
my dad too.
Oh yeah. So those are the mistakes they made, but we should learn from them. I mean, we still have people now who still say, "No, I don't want. I will just rent in Gaborone. When I want to build, I'll build in Mompoloki. I'll build in Kanye. You know, instead of
talk to those people, sort them out, fix their. Do they need a brain transplant? What do they need?
I think they really need to be checked. Because please invest in towns, especially Gaborone. Especially Gaborone. If you invest here, and 10 years, 15 years to come, you'd have probably finished the loan. And you'll be sitting on, for example, someone having graduated 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he should be thinking of buying or building rather than thinking of a car. And if he builds now, and people sometimes should not always think of building huge houses. If you buy a plot now as a first-time buyer, you buy a plot, you build a bachelor pad or a 2-bedroom house at the back, and you stay in it, or if you don't want to stay in it, you rent it, and then after 5, 7, 8 years, you extend it, because you can go to your architect and say, can you design me a 3-bedroom house, full-fledged, with a sitting room, TV room, whatever, but I want to build it in stages. So you start with a bachelor pad, you stay in it, or you rent it out. Next time, you add the other bedroom. Next time, within 10 years,
you've got a full house.
Sometimes with very little loan, because you are doing it gradually. Yes. The same money that you would have been paying monthly for the car, maybe 4,000, 5,000 if you are still young, buying an ordinary, so-called ordinary car. You could use it to build slowly.
But the usual excuse you get is availability of land. I'll give you an example. Some years ago, people were told that the land board is giving out land in Tlokweni. The queues were monstrous. They were unbelievable.
Yes.
And 97% of those people came disappointed. In fact, all of them.
Yeah.
So I want you to touch on the issue of availability of land and the cost element tied with that.
Yes. Like I said earlier on, advantage of building at in villages is if it's residential, you get the land free. It's unfortunate that sometimes there is a 20-year of waiting, 20 years,
Even more.
Even more, yeah. So government should really empower Botswana by giving them land in villages. And I'm of the view that, yes, a lot of Botswana would accept a piece of land even if there are no services, because the excuse has been always services like water, sewage, electricity. If you are given a land free of charge, even if there are no services like water, take it, because you have been given gold. You see, services will follow for sure. They will follow because that will be within a planning area. Now, your question was
the cost factor
and the availability.
So that's more like unavailability.
Yes. There's that scarcity. And there shouldn't be scarcity of land in villages. Maybe in Gaborone, because one would say,
look, listen to this. We're a country the size of France. And France has got 100 million, and we're only 2.3 million. Why are we having scarcity of land? Help me understand it. For me, it's a conundrum. How do we resolve this conundrum?
It's man-made. God has given us land, and we are denying people the land. I mean, from here, Lerumo to Mompoloki, just here, 50 kilometers, 30 minutes drive. There's bush.
Only both sides.
Yeah, both sides of the road. You see, properties here and there. But go further south, go further north. It's bush. Bush. Mompoloki right now, the waiting list is unbelievable. I have nieces who are now in their 40s, 50s. They applied 20 years ago.
When they were still in their 20s.
Yes, when they started working and all that. Now, in their 50s.
And there's no indication of whether it's moving or not.
No, there's no indication. Now, in their 50s now, it's very difficult to get a loan when you are 55, because retirement is what?
It's man-made. Who is inflicting this harm on us?
I'm sorry, government.
Yeah, but really,
government through land boards, through government as a whole.
But is it an intractable problem? Are we just sort of going to keep complaining? Is there nothing we can do about it?
My brother, that's the challenge we have in this country. We like talking and not acting. Okay? Anybody you talk to about land issue, scarcity of land, non-availability of land, where he comes from, Lobat and Sorowe, Kanye, they will be complaining. But what are we doing with this complaint, which is huge? I'm not getting into politics, but I'll give you an example. Our friends, like from Zimbabwe, from Zambia, some of them once told me, Shima, whether we are in funerals, weddings, bars, parties, people complain about government not doing things right. But at the end, the very same people vote. The same government they are complaining about. So it's something that is difficult to comprehend.
Okay,
so we're talking land here, and I'm not advocating or no. Don't for now. I'm not saying don't vote this party or not. But I'm saying, why don't we come together as Botswana and face government? Who is government? The leaders.
Government
is us. And when you just complain, it's like your child.
Okay.
If you're just complaining, he wants the new shoes, but if he cries and he does action, you do something.
Speaking of crying, and also speaking of land issues. I was gratified to learn that the land on the way to Francistown from Mama Shia has been rezoned industrial.
Yes.
And that was by what? Presidential decree or something
No.
like that? Or legislation?
Legislation. No, the land boards actually.
The land boards.
You know,
tell us about that.
Sometimes land boards appear like they don't understand the powers they have. Yes.
So what did they do?
To some extent, they're independent. Yes. A lot of people requested the Khatling Land Board to have their properties change of use.
Yes.
Yeah. They refused. But like you said, of late, they have acceded. Yeah. And this is something that should have long been done. Tell me, if it was done 10 years ago, what wrong would
it would be very far.
Yes,
and
because those properties, those pieces of lands, they have not been plowed for the last 10 years or so.
And
that's I'm sorry.
Yes,
that's the same thing that should happen to pieces of land in Metsimotlabe.
Yes.
In Mogodisani. You still should not have a plowing field along the main road.
Still on that note, what positives have resulted? Because it's been a year and a half or 2 years now. What positives have come out of that rezoning effort? Are you able to see anything as a valuer?
Yes. I have valued recently, starting from last year. I have valued properties belonging to various clients of mine, and the values have skyrocketed. And some are busy applying for loans to build, warehouses, because warehouses of these days are very modern. Yeah. And to some extent, they can be used as offices. Yeah. So you find here in Gaborone by, what do you call it? Opposite Game City, this side.
Yes.
What do you call it?
Opposite Game City.
On the eastern side.
On the
Balloweld,
yes,
area.
Yes.
It's called what?
It's called Gaborone International Commerce Park.
Commerce Park, thank you. You see, most of the structures there in Commerce Park are warehouses. But see how beautiful they are. See, they are being used
as offices.
Some of them, yes. You know, land, you and I know that Kale View belongs to the land there.
Belongs to the Roman Catholic Church.
Belongs to the Roman Catholic Church. And it's within the district, not Gaborone, isn't it? Yeah. So, there was a farm, again, changed into commercial or mixed use or whatever. And whoever is owning it, like we are saying, the Roman Catholic Church, they are smiling.
They're leasing it out.
They're smiling. Game City. So why can't the same be done with the properties in the environs of Gaborone? Yes. Changed from land use to commercial.
I still want to talk about that because my curiosity level is very high.
Yes, I can see that.
Yes, Mama Shia going there. Can you give an example of the relative changes pre industrial zoning and post-industrial zoning? What are the comparables?
Comparables are people will see properties being built there very soon.
Now I'm talking in terms of valuation. What has happened? What is the comparative increase?
I said earlier on, the values have skyrocketed.
Yes.
Yeah. The same land, which was initially all along being agricultural, now rezoned last year or 2 years back, it's last year actually, rezoned last year to industrial or to mixed use, whatever, mainly industrial. The moment you receive the notification or letter or whatever, or title deed that now it has been rezoned, the moment you receive that, if that land was worth,
let's talk about a hectare, for instance.
yes, if it was worth maybe 300,000 or 200,000 or a hectare, maybe 150,000 a hectare. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 800,000.
Wow.
Just
through zoning, because there's so many other possibilities.
Yes.
This is so wonderful.
Yeah. So land boards should consider rezoning a lot of these pieces of land.
Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't leave a discussion like this without talking to you as a property investor.
Yes.
You're involved in the
property
mall.
valuer.
Property valuer and investor.
Yes,
I'm
indeed.
calling you an investor as well.
Thank you very much.
Where you're involved in the investment in Mafenyakala Mall.
Yes.
What was your role, and what did you guys do to get it where it is now? What was your involvement?
Okay. Mafenyakala Mall is sitting on a 5-hectare plot. But initially, it was the Mafenyakala Hotel sitting on a 10-hectare, 11-hectare plot. And this plot belongs to Bakwena. Mafenyakala Mall, Mafenyakala Hotel belonged to Bakwena through Kwenen Rural Development Association, which I have chaired for a very long time. I don't want to mention the years because I've overstayed. Yeah, almost 20 years. So I need to move on. I'm chairing that board, and in 2001, the hotel got gutted by fire, leveled it.
I remember.
Yeah, you remember. And it was an eye-opener to us, because immediately I informed my board that instead of rebuilding the hotel, let's get into a mall.
That was your idea?
That was my idea as a real estate person. So I told them, a hotel, I believe maybe investors may not really be interested by then. That's about 17 years ago, isn't it? Yeah. 2002, yeah.
About 20 years.
Yeah, almost 20 years, yeah. I think most of the investors, when you talk of Molepole by then, 20 years ago, they would not think hospitality, hotel and all that. They understood that the small lodges there were doing okay by then. But as a shopping mall, it was going to be very, very viable. So they understood. We got consultants. And initially we wanted to get a loan and build
yourselves.
Ourselves as KRDA on behalf of Bakwena. But we couldn't get a loan because most banks were considering the fact that it's an association.
And you didn't have a track record.
We didn't have a track record. Of course we had, because of Mafenyakala Hotel, which was not owing by then. But I think the banks were a little bit skeptical that Ghana, this land or this proposed development does not belong to Monageng, does not belong to so-and-so. Next time this body will be out, what will happen then? So we formed a technical team, which comprised professionals, lawyer, architect, quantity surveyor, a banker, and they advised us. I worked as a chairman. I worked with them closely. And since it's my profession, investor, valuer, as you said, we then checked possible investors. And it's not wrong to say Cash Bazaar by then showed interest, which is now NAFPRO. They showed interest.
They're listed, isn't it?
Yes, they are listed, yeah. And they showed interest because already a good percent, whether it's 40 or 50% of the leasing, they were going to, take up through the various shops.
Yes.
So already, the moment they said yes, we knew that the mall, before being built,
it's already got tenants.
It's already got tenants, 40% or so. So they then built at about 50 million Pula by then. I think this time is worth far much more.
Probably it's 10 times.
Yes. And then it was very controversial. It nearly put me in trouble as the chairman, as the person as the person who came up with the idea. The challenge or the issue was a lot of people did not understand this issue of leaseback, where you come as an investor, you use my land for 20 years or 25 years or 30 years, you get the rental to pay.
Been doing it with petrol stations forever.
Yes. But people appeared not understanding that no, we don't want this land to be given to someone for 30 years, you see. And we try to explain. We are unable to develop this land. Like I said, it's 11 hectares, but we cut the 5 hectares. So we are still left with the 6 hectares.
Which is still undeveloped.
And if an investor is listening to me, there is need for a hotel there. And we have a dam that side. So the hotel will be overlooking the dam.
You can still build a modern day Mafenyatala hotel.
Exactly, my brother. So, obviously for us to go ahead, we had to go to the Khotla, the main Khotla, to explain to Bakwena, someone wants to use this land for 30 years. And a lot of people agreed. But there were those who were very skeptical.
The majority agreed.
Majority agreed.
Because you presented it well. I think you are the one who presented it.
Yes.
The chief had given you the platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the chief was very supportive because in any case, he's a member of the board. He's ex officio.
So
and he does attend because Khosi Khari Waboraro likes to see Molepole develop.
Yes.
He leaves his office and attend meeting, whether we start from 9 o'clock and finish at lunch. He's not the type of person who will say, I have to rush back. He's not in a hurry, per se. So he supported the idea, but it was taken politically. That was the time when I was standing for elections for the first time. This was 2003.
For an opposition
for BDP.
Oh, it was BDP.
Yes, it was BDP. For BDP.
Yeah, okay. Let's leave that one.
Let's leave that. Okay. Yeah. So some people took it politically. Yeah, I don't want to mention names.
No, you shouldn't.
Some people took it politically and they opposed it vehemently. They opposed it, but
good sense prevailed.
Good sense prevailed because they were saying no. Get a loan. We said we are unable to get loan. Okay. Ask for 15 years. No. I would mention this because it's not a secret in public domain. Riverwalk. Someone listed for, I think it's 25 years or 30. The same thing with Game City. Someone listed for 25 or 30 years. Yeah. Now, the reason why it's 25 years it's because it's in Gaborone. They will get their returns quickly. But if you go to Kanye, if you go to Molepolole, you will not get
for reasons you explained earlier.
For reasons I explained earlier. The rental there. But surprisingly, Lerumo, surprisingly, because of the mall being the only one, the rates almost compared to Gaborone rates. But you build 2 other malls, they will go down.
That's true.
So it is there. Other people,
I think you did very well there. I'm very proud of what you did there. That's
other people thought it was going to be a white elephant. You can put a big mall there, but it's there.
It's very busy.
It's fully let and all that.
In fact, it needs to be expanded.
It needs to be expanded. And I want to say this to the viewers. People tend to think I'm rich. They think I have a stake in Mafingatala Mall. They think I own Mafingatala Mall because it was in the newspapers, Monageng with Mafingatala Mall. No, it belongs to Bakwena. I'm just there with my board as caretakers, including the filling station that we demolished, Mafingatala filling station, and rebuilt it. They belong to Bakwena.
But there's nothing wrong with you owning a stake and partnering with Bakwena.
There's nothing wrong in that.
Yeah, if you had chosen that route, I'll still support it.
Thank you. I may consider that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Societal expectation. You mentioned that you're a golfer. What do you want to share with the viewers on that one?
Oh, there I was thinking about building in a village when we are still young. And you say, no, when I retire, then you go and stay there in Letlhakeng, having built that huge house. But you are still active. You are in your 40s, you are in your 50s. Maybe you happen to be a golfer. You know, you are going to not enjoy your life. So we are not saying people should not go and stay in villages. But if you are still working, like even Molepolole, you know, driving from Molepolole to Gaborone, I once calculated it. You build a house that is worth maybe 800,000, that can be rented at 4,000 in Molepolole. You stay there and you think you are saving, your car, the petrol will be between 3,000 and 4,000. The 20 days that you come here.
Wow.
So now I was saying, talking about the society, that let's say you are a golfer, you should consider, or no, let me build in Gaborone, stay in Gaborone. I'm a golfer, I work in Gaborone. It will be expensive to commute from Kanye, for example. But then later on, so it's always advisable, that's my personal advice.
Yes, yes.
Build in Gaborone while you are still young. Stay in it in lieu of paying rent, or rent it and it brings you income.
Yes.
Then build in your village at a later stage when you are about to retire, because then there will be the need for you then to stay in Molepolole in Kanye. Not just I have to stay in Kanye because I have a house, but you are working, you are still in your 30s, you're still going to work for another 20 years.
That's true.
For God's sake.
That's true. Okay, another thing that I need to ask you is, can you settle the argument, the real estate argument that keeps recurring? Is it better to be a buy and hold investor, or is it better to buy and flip, to be a flipper? Flipping versus buy and hold, where do you stand?
Buy and hold. Hold for what? Hold for what? To sell later or to own?
To own.
If you're an investor, buy and sell. You're an investor. Buy and sell. Because the 3-bedroom house that you probably bought, and sometimes buy at auction, like we said. Sometimes go around, find those houses that are incomplete. You know, it was roofed 5 years ago and it's still there, unfinished. Buy it, renovate, finish it, you'll be smiling when you sell it. Buy another one, buy a plot. At the end, you'll be able to buy a plot and build and sell. A lot of these property moguls, property, you know, investors, giants, they started like that. I'll mention Universal Builders, owned by Mr. Jamali, because he's a good friend of mine.
He's also my mentor.
Yes. If he hears me mentioning his name, he will smile, he'll be happy.
Yeah.
When he came to Botswana, I was still working at Botswana Building Society as a valuer, actually still training. He started with 2 rooms. He used to go there and ask us to do the certificate, 20,000. What? See where he is now.
Yeah, he was a constructor then.
Yes. So we can stay small. I mean, you can start small, build, sell.
But you reach a certain stage where you build, you keep.
Then you reach a stage where
buy and hold. Yeah.
In fact, now at that stage, probably you'll be buying cash. Like you have build, sold.
Yeah.
You have, like you said last time, you know, start small and also go and go and go.
Here's another question that I shouldn't forget to ask you.
Okay.
People want their properties to be valued at an optimum level. They want to maximize. What are the tricks of the trade that you would advise someone to do to their property before calling a valuer to make sure that it's valued at the optimum?
Yes. People always, like we said, expect high values, especially if they are selling.
Yes.
Okay. The opposite happens if they are buying.
Yes.
So Mr. Mogobe comes to me, Shima, I'm selling my house. I value it at 1.5. You are a professional, you won't do that. But someone comes back, no, you have undervalued. You try to explain, no, I have not undervalued. this is how I got to the value, but still says, no, you're undervalued, because he's selling, he's expecting higher value. Next time he's buying a similar property, he expects you, the value to go down, because he's buying, he's not selling. But we always maintain professionalism and ethics, whether you are a friend, whether you are rich. We don't value the person, we value the property.
Okay, that's true, yeah.
It's very, very important, because you'll be very, very unethical and unscrupulous because it's so and so, he's rich, or,
but is there certain
or
things
he's occupying a higher position in the society, and then you do him a favor by overvaluing his property.
I was more thinking in terms of, are there certain things like a swimming pool, double garage?
I was getting to that.
Yes.
But I wanted to, because this
we wanted to clear this one.
Clear this one, because it worries us as valuers. For someone to be coming and telling you have undervalued my property. Sometimes if the discussion goes on, then I said, but why did you come to me? you already know the value of your property. It seems. So what, unless it's a genuine, someone being genuine, thinking, and you explain and he understands.
Out of ignorance.
Yes, out of ignorance. Now, any little improvement to your property does affect the value. Whether you're putting a swimming pool, whether you are putting up a boundary wall, whether you are extending or you are taking that bedroom and add an ensuite bathroom, that increases the value. That increases the value.
Okay.
So it's very important before selling to involve maybe an architect or involve a valuer to come and check what little improvements you may put in your house or your property, and then the value may increase. But caution is, it does not always equate to the increase in value, the cost. Yeah, you may add a room, you may do something at a cost of 100,000, but the value before you added that may not necessarily go up by 100,000, because sometimes it depends as to whether that particular addition was necessary. Okay. Example, you have a plot, it's big in Mogobe or Tlokeng. You have main house, you have 2 other small houses that you are renting out. Sometimes if you add another 4th or 5th house, it's a disadvantage.
Uncle Shima, time is not working for us.
Not at all.
Would you hit me with that question before we conclude our discussion? Okay. This is your chance to ask me something.
Okay. You are a lawyer by profession.
Yes.
An attorney. And you are now into real estate big time.
Thank you.
Yes. You own this property. Now, do you ever regret? No, let me not put it that way. Do you think if you had continued as a lawyer and practiced as compared to now, mainly into property investment?
Okay.
Which
a
one?
Good question. What you're saying is that, do you think I would be where I was if I had just started?
That's the question.
The simple answer is definitely not.
Definitely not.
That doesn't just go for law, it goes for any profession. The income earning capacity of a professional is limited because you're selling your time for money. So there's a ceiling, there's a plateau.
There's a plateau.
Even if you employ other professionals, there's still a ceiling. Whereas if you are investing in property or into assets, into income generating assets, business, there's no limit. I think that's a widely accepted principle. I think Kiyosaki talks about it.
Yes.
You know it well yourself that you need to diversify from your profession. And the message I keep making from people, I keep propagating the message that try and diversify. Have a side hustle.
Yes.
Look for income generating assets. Look for businesses on the side so that you can increase your income earning capacity. I hope I've answered the
No,
question.
you've answered very well, very well. And I think a lot of viewers there, they are taking it as a good advice.
Yes.
Yeah. Mentoring, are you mentoring?
I'm mentoring several cohorts.
Good.
Mentorship, but sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's indirect. I even have young lawyers who are working under me at the law firm.
Good.
So I always want to impact and impact others, and because the more you give to others, the more you benefit.
More you get.
And you and I now are radio personalities. You invite me to the Gebs FM show.
Yes.
So I enjoy those sort of things.
Yes, which comes every Tuesday.
Yes.
At 11:20.
Yes.
You and I try to advise people on property issues.
Yeah,
it's very important.
It's a lot of fun. We're also
very important.
Look at that camera, Mr. Monageng. Talk to that viewer. Leave them with something meaningful, something motivational as we conclude our conversation.
I would like to say we have been talking property issues with Mr. Mogobe, and the crush of the matter is it's very important for you to invest in property at your earlier stage of life. If you leave university, don't let 5 years pass before you consider investing in property, because you will never regret if you do so. We all like cars. We all like nice, movable items. But some of us who did not have this advice, like advice I'm giving you, like advice that Mr. Mogobe has been giving you, we didn't have that advice when we were in our 20s, probably in our 30s. And we missed the chance. We missed the boat. Don't miss the boat. Invest in property.
Okay, thank you very much. Tell them how they can reach Monageng Real Estate, and how can they get in touch with you?
Yes. I'm managing a company called Monageng Valuers. We do valuations for banks, for insurance, and it's important for you to insure your property, whether it's a property in a village, property in Gaborone, your house, your mother's house. Ask your mother to take up insurance, because if it gets gutted by fire, that you'll regret for the rest of your life. So Monageng Valuers does that, the valuations for insurance, for mortgages, and for book values, for our accounts and all that. We are situated at plot 410 in extension 4, directly opposite Tebelo Pili Testing Center. And our number is 390-7713. Or you may reach me at Shima Monageng at yahoo.com. Is it? Yeah, Shima Monageng at yahoo.com. Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much. You've really enriched us. You've empowered us. We appreciate your coming, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.